Okay, what we'd like to do is take a quick little look at indexing and talk about some of the information that you would get from indexing. What I have here are the selected financial statement items from Disney. And of course you get this from the annual report. They usually have 4 or 5 years of data. You need to create this spreadsheet. You need to enter the line items. Some companies are much more complicated than others. Disney happens to be not all that complicated of a statement, but some will have more data than others will. But you can, again, just put down the labels, enter the information from the financial statements, and then really that's the hardest part. After you've input the data, we then need to create indexing. And as you can see here, I've created 2 sets of tables here. The first thing, I've created something called the base year, and this is the true indexing. I've made 2010 the base year. So everything is going to be based on that. So the formula that I have for that, if you look here, is it's B3, it's the line item divided by the line item. So in this case, this entire column should all be 1.0 because the base year is where we're starting. After that, you then need to just copy. You just need to take those numbers and you need to copy them to the right. Now, what you have to do first is you have to copy one column and then enter this -1. I mean, we could do that over here, but of course then that gets rid of the 0. So these would all be zeros if I were to do that. And we want to show that as starting at year 1. So if you took this column, right, and if you would just copy that to the right, right, here we end up with things that are 1 minus or 1.07, etc. From there, we want to subtract all of that from 1. When you subtract it from 1, then you obviously are going to get numbers. Again, I'm just kind of working backwards in this to show you how it came about. In here, we just need to change this. Let me change it back to numbers. So then you just see these decimals. And then for the decimals, you need to change them to percentages. And then give it a couple places so we have 2 decimal places. Once you have this first column, then it's just a matter of copying to the right. So you're just going to copy all of those formulas to the right. So what indexing shows us is how the years have progressed. Since with respect to net revenues or total revenues for the company, you can see that since 2010, revenues are up 28.24%. The actual net income from Disney is up 85%, or net income is, and net income in general from Disney is up 89%. So I find that rather interesting to say the least. That is that, revenues are only up 28%, but net income is up almost 90%. So what does that tell us? Well, either they were very inefficient way back when, or this company is just becoming very, very profitable over time. You can also do that with assets. Here's long-term assets or total assets. The company has increased its size by 21% over the last 4 or 5 years. And again, we can go down and we can look through that. You can also see how the cash flows are working. Cash flows from operations are up 48%, but cash flows from investing are down 26%. So what does that mean? It means that what? That they are actually increasing the amount of, or there's a decrease in the amount of money that's being spent on financing assets or on purchasing assets and equipment. Financing, as you can see here, financing has actually increased over time. So it's up almost 1.5 times the financing, or the amount of financing going into this company has changed 150%. So if you look at this, they have what? They spent, financing was spent 2.6, I think this ultimately turns out to be hundreds of millions, but 2,663 in negative, that's grown to negative 6,700. So that means what? There is more money going out in financing than coming in. So the company is increasing its revenues and it is decreasing its debt base. So rather interesting proposition, if you will. The other thing that I've added here is just to look at a per year basis. In this case, you change the formula. So we're going to have, again, you can't start with 2010 because we don't have 2009, but this shows 2011's growth since 2010. And of course, see, that number should be the exact same as this column. You see that they are. And then after that, all you have to do is take this column, once you have that formula in there, take this column, right? And then you're just going to copy it across. You copy it across, and then you can see how things have grown every year. It seems like revenues in general have been positively growing. 2012 was a down year, but now we're springing back a little bit. We also can see that 2013 was a down year. Again, down. They still had growth, but the problem was it wasn't growing at the same rate. Right? If you look here at total assets, you can see that assets have grown roughly 4% a year. 2013 a little bit higher, obviously, but now you can start to pick and choose. Then if you look at the financing activity, again, we're looking at, in this case, if you look at the data, these are negative numbers, which means there's money going out of the company, right? That increased to almost 60% over last year. So that means the money going out of the company is 50%, 60% more than it was the year before. So there's an increase in this outflow of cash. So is that good or bad? That's something you need to understand. That's something that we want to talk about in this class is this actually a good thing or a bad thing that these numbers are changing the way they're changing? So I look forward to your analysis of the particular company that you're following, and have a nice week.